They tied her to the pillory and called her cursed. Gave her one canteen and pointed at the wasteland. 3 weeks later, when the fire came, she stood at the mine entrance with water and shelter, and watched half the town choose to burn rather than accept help from her hands. The rope burns her wrists. Sol Vargas stands at the pillory in Piedra-Seca's main square, dust swirling around her boots. Noon sun hammers down. No shade. No mercy. The town council reads the charges like scripture. 3 children dead after her hands touched them in childbirth. Livestock withering after she passed through the pens. Crops failing in fields she walked beside. The litany goes on. Each accusation draws hisses from the crowd. Mayor Hutchins holds the decree. His voice carries across the square, bouncing off false front buildings and hitching posts. Sol Vargas, you are found to be cursed. A carrier of misfortune. A blight upon this community. His hand shakes. Fear, not anger. The crowd presses closer. Women she delivered babies for. Men whose wounds she stitched. Now they spit at her feet. Call her witch. Devil's handmaiden. Their faces twist with something worse than hate. Terror. They cut the ropes. Her wrists bleed. No one offers a bandage. The sheriff hands her a single canteen. Water sloshes inside. Maybe 2 days' worth if she's careful. Maybe less in this heat. You have 1 hour, Hutchins says. Take nothing but what you wear. Go beyond the frontier. If you return, we hang you. He points toward the barren hills. No wells out there. No shade. No hope. Sol doesn't speak. What words would change their minds? She learned silence in the weeks since the accusation started. Learned that defending yourself only makes them more certain. Guilt speaks. Innocence stays quiet. She walks. Boots crunch on packed earth. The crowd parts like she's diseased. Children hide behind their mother's skirts. A man makes the sign of the cross. Another spits. The saliva lands on her shoulder. She doesn't wipe it away. Past the livery stable. Past the general store where she used to buy flour and kerosene. Past the church where she prayed every Sunday until the preacher told her not to come back. Her shadow stretches long in the dust. The town watches. Every window. Every doorway. Making sure she leaves. Making sure the curse walks away from their homes, their children, their livestock. They'll sleep better tonight. Tell themselves they did what was necessary. Sol reaches the edge of town. The last building is the blacksmith's forge. Cold now. No smoke from the chimney. Even he won't work while she passes. She keeps walking. The hills rise ahead. Burnt brown. Cracked earth. Mesquite and sage struggling to survive. Heat shimmers off the ground like water that isn't there. Her canteen feels light already. Too light. She doesn't look back. Won't give them that satisfaction. But she hears them. Whistles. Curses. Someone shouts that hell is waiting for her. Someone else laughs. The sound carries on the wind. Then something changes. The air shifts. Sol stops. Turns despite herself. The sky behind her darkens. Not clouds. Not storm. Something else. The color is wrong. Sickly. Unnatural. Green-black at the edges, spreading like infection. It's high summer. The sky shouldn't look like that. Ever. The crowd sees it too. Their jeering stops. Faces turn upward. Confusion. Then fear. The same fear they showed her. Soul stands at the boundary between town and wasteland. The cursed woman and the cursed sky. She watches the darkness spread. Watches the people who exiled her start to understand that maybe, just maybe, they threw away the wrong thing. The wind picks up. Hot. Dry. Tasting of ash that hasn't fallen yet. 3 days walking. Soul's canteen runs dry on the second. Her lips crack. Tongue swells. The hills offer nothing but thorns and dust. She follows a dry creek bed. Instinct more than hope. Animals need water. Where they went, water might be. The sun brands her shoulders through her dress. Blisters rise on her heels. She doesn't stop. Stopping means dying. The canyon opens like a wound in the earth. Steep walls. Shadow pooling. At the bottom. Soul slides down the scree, boots skidding on loose rock. At the base, she sees it. Mine entrance. Timber supports gray with age. Rusted rails leading into darkness. A warning sign hangs crooked. Danger. Collapse. 12 dead. Stay out. The paint is faded. 10 years old, maybe more. Soul doesn't care about warnings. She's already cursed. What's one more curse? She steps inside. Cool air hits her face like a blessing. The temperature drops 20 degrees past the entrance. Her eyes adjust. The main shaft runs deep. Side tunnels branch off like veins. Old tools scattered everywhere. Pickaxes. Shovels. A kerosene lamp with no fuel. Someone left in a hurry. She goes deeper. Listening. The mountain breathes around her. Timbers creak. Rock settles. Then she hears it. Water. Dripping. Echoing. Soul follows the sound. 50 yards in. A side tunnel opens to a natural chamber. Water seeps from a crack in the stone. Pools on the floor. Clear. Cold. She drops to her knees. Drinks until her stomach hurts. Fills her canteen. Drinks again. The chamber becomes home. Soul finds a crate of canned goods. Beans. Peaches. Labels rusted but seals intact. Miners' emergency supplies. Never claimed. She pries one open with a rock. Eats cold beans with her fingers. Tastes like salvation. She finds blankets in another tunnel. Moth-eaten but dry. A tin cup. A Bible with water damage. She doesn't read it. Days pass. Soul learns the mind's rhythms. Morning light reaches 30 feet inside. Enough to see by. The mountain talks. Groans when temperature shifts. Whispers when wind blows across the entrance. She learns which tunnels are stable. Which timbers are rotting. Where the bats roost. Where the air flows fresh. The dead miners don't bother her. Their bones are deeper. Sealed behind collapsed rock. Their quiet company. A week in, Soul hears footsteps. Not hers. Lighter. Hesitant. She grabs a pickaxe handle. Moves toward the entrance. Silhouette against the daylight. Small. Child-sized. The figure stops. Sways. Falls. Soul runs. Drops the weapon. The boy can't be more than 8. Clothes torn. Face bruised. 1. Eye swollen shut. Ribs showing through his shirt. He's unconscious. Breathing shallow. She carries him inside. Lays him on blankets. Wets a cloth. Cleans his face. The bruises are fresh. Days old. Someone beat him hard. Repeatedly. His knuckles are scraped. He fought back. Lost. Soul knows that kind of beating. Knows what drives a child into the wasteland alone. Same thing that drove her. Nowhere else to go. The boy wakes. At sunset. Flinches when he sees her. Tries to scramble back. Soul stays still. Holds out the tin cup. Water. He stares. Doesn't trust it. Doesn't trust her. But thirst wins. He drinks. Chokes. Drinks more. What's your name? Soul asks. He doesn't answer. Won't meet her eyes. She doesn't push. Silence is its own language. She understands it better than words. Night falls. Soul lights a small fire near the entrance. Smoke. Draws up and out. She opens another can. Peaches this time. Gives him half. He eats like an animal. Fast. Defensive. Expecting someone to take it away. When he's done, he curls up on the blankets. Still doesn't speak. But he doesn't run either. Soul watches the stars appear beyond the mine entrance. Watches the boys breathing slow into sleep. Something shifts in her chest. Understanding. Cold and clear as the underground. Spring. The cursed draw the cursed. The broken find the broken. This boy walked into the wasteland and found her. Not by accident. Not by chance. Because outcasts recognize each other. Because when the world throws you away, you find the others it threw away too. Soul looks at the sleeping child. Wonders how many more will come. Wonders if she's ready to catch them when they fall. The boy speaks on the third day. His name is Thomas. Ran from a ranch where the foreman used a belt. Soul doesn't ask for details. The scars tell the story. She shows him how to set snares for rabbits. How to read animal tracks in the dust. How to find water by watching where birds fly at dawn. He learns fast. Hunger makes good teachers of necessity. 2 weeks later, the girl arrives. Maybe 12. Skin the color of desert. Sand. Black hair in a single braid. Her mother was Apache. Her father was a cavalry scout. Neither people claim her now. She walks into the mine at sunset. Doesn't ask permission. Just sits by the fire. Soul hands her a tin plate. Beans and hardtack. The girl eats. Says her name is Maria. Says nothing else. Thomas watches her from across the fire. Recognizes his own story in different skin. The twins come next. Brother and sister. 7 years old. Holding hands like if they let go, they'll disappear. Their parents died of fever 3 months back. The town orphanage kept them 2 weeks. Then decided it couldn't afford 2 more mouths. Gave them to a farmer who needed field hands. The farmer worked them like mules. Fed them like dogs. They ran. Found the canyon the way water finds low ground. Soul looks at their hollow cheeks. Their rope burned. Wrists. Something hardens in her chest. She names them herself. Jack and Rose. They need names that sound like hope. The scarred boy is last. 15. Half his face melted from a kerosene lamp that exploded. His family couldn't look at him after. Couldn't stand the reminder of what fire does to flesh. They gave him a saddle and a Colt revolver. Told him to make his own way. He tried. Towns turned him away. Called him cursed. Monster. Devil touched. He heard about the mine from a drunk in a frontier saloon. Heard about the cursed woman who lived with ghosts. Figured cursed belonged with cursed. His name is Samuel. He knows how to shoot. How to track. How to survive alone. Soul puts him in charge of hunting. The mine becomes something new. Not a tomb. A refuge. Soul teaches them everything she knows. Which plants are poison. Which heal. How to tan. Rabbit hide. How to make char cloth for starting fires. How to read weather in the way clouds move. The children teach each other. Maria shows Thomas how to move silent. Samuel teaches the twins to shoot tin cans off rocks. They become something that looks like family. Built on shared wounds instead of shared blood. But the sky keeps changing. Each sunset brings stranger colors. Purple. Green. Orange that looks like infection. The air tastes wrong. Metallic. Dry. Soul watches the horizon every evening. Sees the darkness spreading. Not clouds. Something else. The wind carries ash that hasn't fallen yet. Brings smells of distant burning. At night, the stars look dimmer. Like something is stealing their light. Thomas finds the newspaper. 3 weeks old. Blown into the canyon by wind. The headline talks about drought. Wells failing across the territory. Livestock dying. Crops withering in fields that used to be green. Old-timers quoted saying they've seen this before. 50 years back. The Great Drought. Turned the frontier into a graveyard. Killed more people than all the Indian wars combined. The article says it's starting again. Says this time might be worse. Soul reads it twice. Looks at the 5 faces around the fire. Children nobody wanted. Children the world threw away. She built them a home in a cursed mine. Taught them to survive on scraps and determination. But survival skills won't stop what's coming. The drought will turn the wasteland into hell. Will push the fire toward anything still living. Will force everyone to choose between burning and running. And when the flames reach Piedra-Seca, when the town that exiled her starts to die, she'll have to decide if the cursed woman saves the people who cursed her. Or if she lets them burn. The smoke arrives before the fire. Soul smells it 3 days before she sees the horizon turn orange. Bitter. Acrid. Like someone burning wet wood mixed with something fouler. Hair. Flesh. The wind carries it into the canyon, and the children wake coughing. Maria's eyes water. Thomas covers his mouth with his sleeve. The twins huddle together, confused by the taste of ash on their tongues. Soul stands at the mine entrance. Watches the sky bruise purple and black. Not storm clouds. Something worse. The sun rises blood red through the haze. Casts everything in hellish light. She's seen drought before. Seen wells run dry and crops wither. But this feels different. Biblical. Like the earth itself decided to punish the living. Samuel rides in at noon. His horse is lathered. Foam at the bit. Eyes rolling white. He slides from the saddle, and the animal's legs tremble. Town's dying, he says. Voice rough from smoke. Wells went dry overnight. All of them. Livestock dropping in the fields. Fires coming from the west. Moving fast. He coughs. Spits black phlegm. They're saying it's the end times. Soul pours water from their underground spring into a bucket. The horse drinks desperately. Empties it. She refills it twice more before the animal stops shaking. Samuel watches her hands. Steady. Certain. How much water you got in there, he asks. She looks into the mine's darkness. Hears the steady drip echoing from deep inside. Enough, she says. For how many? Samuel's scarred face twists. Half of it can't move right. But his good eye holds hers. All of them? The question hangs between them. Soul doesn't answer. Turns back to watch the smoke thicken on the horizon. The fire is maybe 2 days out. Maybe less if the wind picks up. Piedra-Seca sits directly in its path. Wooden buildings. Dry timber. The whole town will go up like kindling soaked in kerosene. Samuel ties his horse in the shade. Follows her inside. The children gather around. Want to know what's happening. Want to know if they're safe. We're safe, Soul says. Stone walls. Underground water. Air that flows through tunnels too deep for smoke to reach. The mine that everyone called cursed is the only sanctuary for miles. The irony tastes like copper on her tongue. What about the town? Rose asks. Her small voice echoes off rock walls. Jack holds her hand. Always holding her hand. What about all those people? Soul's jaw tightens. She remembers the pillory. The ropes cutting her wrists. Mayor Hutchins pointing toward the wasteland. The crowd spitting. Calling. Her devil's handmaiden. Cursed. Blight. They gave her one canteen and told her to die quietly where they couldn't see. Now they're the ones dying. Now the curse they feared is coming for them instead. They made their choice, Soul says. Her voice sounds hollow. Echoes wrong in the chamber. Thomas looks at her. 8 years old. Bruises faded but not forgotten. Did they choose to burn, he asks. Simple question. Child's. Logic. No malice in it. Just confusion about how the world works. How justice works. Soul opens her mouth. Closes it. Has no answer that makes sense. Maria sits cross-legged by the fire. Sharpening a knife on a whetstone. The blade whispers against stone. Rhythmic. Hypnotic. My mother's people would say the earth is balancing itself, she says. Doesn't look up from her work. Taking back what was stolen. Burning away the rot. Her hands move with practiced precision. The knife edge catches firelight. Your mother's people aren't wrong, Samuel says. He checks his Colt. Spins the cylinder. Counts bullets he's counted 100 times. Nervous habit. Sometimes things need to burn. Soul walks deeper into the mine. Away from the children. Away from their questions. Her boots scrape on stone. The sound follows her into darkness. She finds the chamber where water pools. Kneels beside it. Sees her reflection in the still surface. Gaunt face. Hollow eyes. Hair gone gray at the temples though she's barely 30. The woman in the water looks like someone who survived. Not someone who lived. She thinks about capacity. The mine has dozens of chambers. Tunnels that branch and connect. Could hold 200 people. Maybe more if they pack tight. Piedra-Seca has maybe 300 souls. Families. Children. Old folks who can't run. They'd fit. Barely. But fitting isn't the question. The question is whether she opens the door. Whether she walks back into town and offers salvation to people who wanted her dead. Footsteps behind her. Small ones. Rose appears at the tunnel entrance. 7 years old. Blonde hair tangled. Dress patched with rabbit hide. She sits beside Soul without asking. Dangles her feet over the water. Jack says you're thinking about saving them, Rose says. Her voice is matter-of-fact. No judgment. Just observation. Jack talks too much, Sol replies. Rose shrugs. He's usually right though. They sit in silence. Water drips. Echoes. Marks time in a place where time moves different. Finally Rose speaks again. Why don't they just hide in caves, she asks. Innocent. Curious. Like we do. Seems smart. Fire can't burn rock. Sol's chest tightens. Something cracks inside. A wall she built from anger and hurt and justified rage. The child's logic is flawless. Simple. Why don't they hide in caves? Because they don't know. Because pride blinds. Because the cursed mine is the last place they'd think to run. Because sometimes people would rather die than admit they were wrong. Sol looks at Rose's reflection in the water. Sees trust there. Sees a child who believes adults make sense. Who believes the world has rules that matter. They don't know about the mine, Sol says carefully. Don't know it's safe. Rose tilts her head. Thinks about this. So we should tell them, she says. Like it's obvious. Like there's no other option. Before they burn up. She stands. Brushes dust from her dress. That's what family does, right? Warns each other about danger. She walks away. Leaves Sol kneeling by the water. Leaves her with the weight of a child's simple morality. Sol stays there until the fire's glow is visible through the mine entrance. Until the sky turns the color of infected wounds. Until she can hear the distant roar of flames devouring the frontier. The children sleep in their chambers. Trust her to keep them safe. Trust her to make the right choice. She stands. Joints crack. Body protests. She's tired. So tired. But Rose's question echoes louder than the dripping water. Why don't they hide in caves? Sol walks to the entrance. Looks toward Piedra-Seca. Sees the orange glow spreading. Hears the wind picking up. Carrying embers. Carrying death. She could stay here. Could let them burn. Could call it justice. Could call it God's will. Could sleep at night knowing she gave them exactly what they gave her. Nothing. But Rose's face floats in her mind. Jack's hand holding his sister's. Thomas's bruises. Maria's knife. Samuel's scars. All the broken pieces she gathered. All the throwaways she caught before they shattered. They taught her something she didn't want to learn. That family isn't about deserving. It's about choosing. About deciding who you are when you have the power to let someone die. Sol picks up her canteen. Checks the water level. Enough for the walk to town. Enough to offer proof that the mine has what they need. Her hands shake. Not from fear. From something else. Something that feels like breaking and healing at the same time. She doesn't know if they'll listen. Doesn't know if they'll follow. Doesn't know if she'll make it back before the fire cuts off the path. But she knows what happens if she doesn't try. Knows she'll hear their screams. Knows Rose will ask why she didn't warn them. Knows the answer will taste like ash for the rest of her life. Sol steps out of the mine. Into the smoke. Into the heat. Toward the town that cursed her. Toward the people who wanted her dead. Carrying water from the cursed spring. Offering sanctuary in the cursed mine. Wondering if salvation can come from hands they called devil-touched. Wondering if they'll choose to live. Or if pride burns hotter than wildfire. The town square reeks of panic. Sweat. Horse lather. Smoke thick enough to chew. Soul walks into Piedra-Seca and sees chaos wearing human faces. Women clutching children. Men loading wagons with whatever fits. The blacksmith's forge sits cold. The saloon doors hang open. Nobody's drinking. Nobody's working. They're all staring west where the sky bleeds orange and black. Mayor Hutchins stands on the church steps. His voice cracks trying to shout over the wind. Trying to organize an evacuation that has nowhere to go. The frontier stretches in every direction. Flat. Exposed. No shelter for 50 miles except back toward the fire. His hands shake when he points. When he tries to give orders that make no sense. Soul stops in the center of the square. Same spot where they tied her to the pillory. Same dust under her boots. The crowd notices her. Slowly. Conversations die. Mothers pull children closer. Men's hands drift toward holstered Colts. She sees recognition flicker across faces. Sees fear sharpen into something uglier. The mine, Soul says. Her voice cuts through wind and crackling distant flames. Stone walls. Underground water. Room for everyone. She holds up her canteen. Water sloshes inside. Proof. You'll be safe there. Hutchins descends 3 steps. His face is red. Veins bulge in his neck. You dare, he says. Spittle flies. You dare come here. Now. Offering your devil's hole. His finger jabs toward her. Trembles. This is your doing. Your curse brought this. Soul's jaw tightens. She tastes copper. Bites the inside of her cheek to keep from screaming. Fire doesn't care about curses, she says. It burns what it touches. The mine is deep. Cool. The flames can't reach inside. Lies. Reverend Morrison steps forward. His Bible clutched against his chest like a shield. That mine is a tomb. 12 men died there. Their souls still wander. You trap us with the dead. With demons. His voice rises. Sermon cadence. Better to die in God's light than live in Satan's shadow. The crowd murmurs. Agreement. Fear. Religious fervor mixing with smoke-induced hysteria. Soul sees it in their eyes. The same look they had when they exiled her. Certainty. Righteous certainty that feels like safety even when it kills. I'm not asking you to trust me, Soul says. Each word costs her. Scrapes her throat raw. I'm telling you there's shelter. Bring your families. Bring your livestock if they fit. The mine can hold you until the fire passes. And then what? Hutchins's wife speaks up. Martha. She held Soul's hand once. During a difficult birth. Thanked her with fresh bread. Now her face is stone. You keep us there. Prisoner. Make us beg the cursed woman for water. Soul's hands curl into fists. Nails bite palms. She forces them open. Then you leave, she says. When it's safe. When the ash settles. You rebuild. You live. We'll take our chances here. Hutchins straightens. Tries to look authoritative while his town burns on the horizon. God will provide. He always has. We don't need help from the likes of you. The firewall is visible now. Not just smoke. Actual flames. A line of orange stretching across the western sky. Moving. Growing. The heat reaches the square. Makes the air shimmer. Makes breathing hurt. Soul watches it come. Watches the town watch it come. Seize the moment calculation enters their eyes. The moment faith meets physics. A woman breaks. First. Young. Maybe 20. Baby wrapped in a shawl against her chest. She runs toward Soul. Doesn't ask permission. Just runs. Her husband chases after. Grabs her arm. They argue in frantic whispers. He looks at the fire. Looks at his child. His face crumbles. They run together toward the canyon path. Another family follows. Then another. The dam breaks. Not everyone. Maybe half. Maybe less. But enough that the square erupts. Into motion. People grabbing children. Grabbing saddlebags. Abandoning wagons too slow for the narrow canyon trail. They stream past Soul. Some won't meet her eyes. Some whisper thanks. Most just run. Hutchins screams at them. Calls them cowards. Faithless. Damned. His voice goes hoarse. Cracks. Breaks. But he doesn't move. Doesn't follow. The Reverend stands beside him. Bible open. Reading Psalms to the wind. To the fire. To God who isn't answering. Soul counts maybe 60 people running for the mine. Leaves 150 behind. Families who won't bend. Won't break. Would rather burn than admit the cursed woman was right. She wants to grab them. Shake them. Force them to see. But their eyes are already blind. Already dead. Just waiting for their bodies to catch up. The fire reaches the outskirts. Catches the livery stable first. Dry hay. Old wood. It goes up like kerosene-soaked kindling. The roar drowns out screaming. Drowns out prayer. Soul turns. Runs. Follows the last of the refugees toward the canyon. Behind her, Piedra-Seca starts to die. The mine swallows them. Soul and Samuel and Maria organize the chaos. Pack people into deep chambers. Away from the entrance. Away from heat and smoke. The underground spring flows steady. They fill every container. Every canteen. Every bucket. Ration it carefully. Make it last. Thomas and the twins guide children to the safest tunnels. Show them where to sit. How to breathe shallow. How to stay calm when the walls press close. Rose holds a baby while its mother collapses. Sobbing. Shaking. The girl rocks the infant. Hums something wordless. Something that sounds like hope. Night falls. The fire reaches the town proper. They hear it. Even deep in the mine. Even through stone and earth. The roar. The crack of timber. The whoosh of flames finding fresh fuel. And underneath. Worse than the fire. The screaming. People who stayed. People who chose faith over shelter. Their voices carry on the wind. Down into the canyon. Into the mine where the survivors huddle. High-pitched. Desperate. Cutting off one by one as the fire takes them. As pride burns hotter than flesh. Soul stands at the deepest point of the mine. Hands pressed against cold stone. Eyes closed. But she can't block it out. Can't unhear it. The sound of people dying because they couldn't accept help from cursed hands. Because they'd rather burn than bend. A child asks why people are screaming. A mother covers the child's ears. Lies. Says it's just the wind. Just the fire. Not people. Never people. But everyone knows. Everyone hears. The truth echoes off stone walls. Bounces through tunnels. finds them no matter how deep they hide. The screaming lasts 3 hours. Then silence. Worse than screaming. Silence that means it's over. Means the choice is final. Means 150 people chose wrong and paid with everything. Soul slides down the wall. Sits in darkness. Her children find her. Gather around. Don't speak. Just press close. Warmth. Against warmth. Living against living. Outside, Piedra-Seca burns to ash. Inside, the cursed woman who tried to save them listens to the sound of her own heartbeat. Wonders if salvation means anything when half the people you offer it to choose death instead. Wonders what she'll tell the survivors when dawn comes. When they emerge to find their town gone. Their families gone. Everything gone except the cursed mind that kept them breathing. Dawn comes gray. Not golden. Not clean. The light filtering into the mine entrance carries ash instead of hope. Soul stands at the threshold, her hand resting against stone worn smooth by a decade of abandonment. The rock feels cool. Solid. Permanent in a way nothing else has been. Behind her, the survivors stir. Whispers. Coughs. The sound of bodies unfolding from cramped positions. Samuel appears at her shoulder, face streaked with soot, eyes red from smoke. He doesn't speak. Just looks at the gray light and what silence means. The walk to Piedra-Seca takes an hour. Ash falls like snow, coats their shoulders, gets in their mouths. Tastes like charcoal and failure and the end of everything familiar. The children stay close. Rose holds Jack's hand. Thomas carries his little sister. Maria walks with her knife visible, not threatening, just present. A reminder that they survived worse than fire. 63 people who ran. Who chose. Who lived. The town is gone. Not damaged. Not burned. Gone. Where buildings stood, only blackened timber skeletons remain. The church steeple collapsed inward. The saloon is a rectangle of ash. The general store, the livery, the homes, all reduced to carbon and memory. The smell is overwhelming. Burnt wood. Scorched earth. And underneath, sweeter. Sickening. The smell of flesh that burned too hot to leave bodies behind. Martha Hutchins kneels in what used to be her kitchen, hands sifting through ash. Looking for something. Anything. Some proof her life existed before dawn. Her shoulders shake. No sound comes out. Her husband stayed. Burned with the righteous. Left her a widow who chose survival and has to live with choosing. Young Thomas stands. Where his father's forge stood. The anvil is still there. Iron doesn't burn. Everything else is ash. Soul watches them scatter through the ruins. Watches them search. Watches them find nothing. The frontier is littered with ghost towns, but those towns died slow. This death was fast. Violent. A town murdered by pride and fire in equal measure. She feels the weight of it. The 150 who didn't make it. The 150 who heard her offer and chose burning. Rose tugs her sleeve. The girl's face is smudged, but her eyes are clear. We can't stay here, she says. Simple. True. There's nothing left. Soul nods. The survivors are frozen, trapped between what was and what comes next. Unable to move forward. Unable to go back. The mine, Soul says. Her voice carries across the ash field. People turn. Look at her. Some with gratitude. Some with shame. Some with nothing at all. We build there. Stone instead of wood. Use what the earth gives us. Start again. Martha stands, ash falling from her skirts. You'd let us? After what she can't finish. Can't name what they did to Soul. What they almost did to themselves. The mind doesn't care about before, Soul says. It just stands. Offers shelter. That's all any of us can do now. She turns back toward the canyon. Come or don't. But decide fast. We've got work to do. They follow. All 63. What choice do they have? The frontier stretches empty in every direction. No town for 50 miles. Just the cursed mine and the cursed woman who opened it when she could have let them burn. The building starts slow. Men who knew carpentry learned stone. Women who cooked in kitchens learned to cook over open fires. Children who played in streets learned to play in canyons. Soul doesn't lead. Doesn't command. Just works. Hauls stone. Mixes mortar. Shows them how to read the rock. Samuel organizes work crews. Maria teaches the women to hunt. The children become guides, showing newcomers where water pools, where shade hides. Months pass. The settlement grows. Not like Piedra-Seca. This place is stone and sweat and necessity. Houses carved into canyon. Walls. Storage rooms dug deep. A communal kitchen near the spring. Everything built to last. Built by people who learned that pride burns and stone endures. Nobody apologizes. Not with words. But Martha brings Soul coffee one morning. Sits beside her without asking. It's enough. A year passes. The settlement has no name. People just call it the mine, or the canyon, or sometimes, quietly, Soul's place. Though she doesn't claim it. She lives where she always lived. In the deep tunnels. But now the darkness has company. Has children who visit. Has people who nod when they pass. Has something that might be community if she squints. Rose finds her one evening. The girl is 8 now. Taller. Stronger. Her dress is new, sewn by Martha from traded cloth. You were right, Rose says, sitting beside Soul. About family. About choosing. Soul doesn't answer. Just watches the sun set over the canyon. Over the settlement that shouldn't exist. Jack says you're still sad, Rose continues. About the ones who didn't come. The ones who burned. She leans against Soul's shoulder. Small weight. Warm. Alive. But you can't save people who won't be saved. That's what Maria says. You can only open the door. They have to walk through. Soul's throat tightens. She thinks about the screaming. About the silence after. About Hutchins and the Reverend and all the others who chose faith over shelter. I could have tried harder, Soul says. The words taste like failure. Could have made them listen. Rose shakes her head. Certain. Absolute. You gave them the choice. That's all anyone can do. They chose wrong. That's on them. Not you. Besides, if you'd stayed there arguing, you might not have made it back. Then we'd all be dead. Sometimes saving some is better than saving none. The settlement lights begin to glow. Kerosene lamps. Candles. Small fires for cooking. The canyon fills with warm light. With the sound of voices. With life that shouldn't be here but is. Soul watches a mother call her children inside. Watches Samuel check the perimeter. Watches Martha laugh. Watches the cursed mine become home. She thinks about the town that was. About the town that is. Piedra-Seca was built on certainty. On knowing who belonged and who didn't. This place has no lines. Just stone and water and people who survived because someone they called cursed offered her hand. She doesn't know if that makes her redeemed. But she knows this: when Rose asked why people don't hide in caves, something broke inside her. The part that wanted revenge. That wanted to watch them burn. That part died in the fire. What's left is harder. More complicated. The knowledge that you can offer salvation and watch people refuse it. That you can open every door and some will still choose to burn. Soul stands. Her joints ache. Her hands are scarred from stone work. She looks old. Feels older. But she's alive. They're all alive. 63 people who ran. Who chose. Who get to wake up tomorrow. She walks toward the settlement. Toward the lights. Toward the sound of her name being called. Maria needs help. Thomas has a question. Rose wants to show her a lizard she caught. The mine entrance yawns behind her. Dark. Deep. Waiting. It saved them once. It'll save them again if fire comes. If drought comes. If the frontier decides to take another pound of flesh. The stone doesn't care about curses. Doesn't care about redemption. Just stands. Offers shelter. Endures. Soul thinks maybe that's enough. Maybe that's all any of them can do. Stand. Offer what they have. Let people choose. Live with the choosing. But some nights, when the wind is right, she swears she can still hear them. The ones who stayed. The ones who burned. Their voices carried on smoke. On ash. On the weight of choices that can't be unmade. And she wonders, will always wonder, if the hands that saved 63 are the same hands that failed to save 150. If being cursed means carrying both. If redemption is just another word for learning to live with what you couldn't change.